All right, here we are. Welcome to Monday Morning MMA. Chris Mancuso, the Bane, and Jack are back coming off of UFC 266. It was a wild one, boys. I didn't catch the prelims. I got to be honest with you. I was doing some meetings and stuff like that. Bane, I'm going to kick it to you because I saw your Twitter and your prelim Twitch feed going down last night. First off, I want to say you were absolutely hammered on Saturday night, and also what happened in the prelims? Do you remember?
Man, we had some good action at many different weight classes downstairs on the prelims. First thing I have to mention, Matthew Semmelsberger at 170 detonating a bomb 15 seconds in on Martin Sano. Talk about a statement made. We'll say the featured early prelim. Uros Medic losing to Jalen Turner by submission. Really didn't see that one coming. I mean, I thought Uros would have a significant advantage on the feet. Jalen Turner, however, he was very smart with his range, right? He was at range, and then he crashed in with strikes, didn't give Uros time to settle into the fight, and got him out of there and won. Moving right along into the prelims, Chris Daukaus takes out Shamil Abdurakhimov. I mean, that was a picture-perfect hand for the police officer. Talk about delivering justice right there. Shamil now hasn't won a fight in, years. His last fight before that was UFC 242. Now loses tonight at UFC 266. So I think we'll see him at UFC 287, probably taking on another top 15 contender. Shamil will be back in 2 years. Dan Hooker versus Nasrat Haqparast. I mean, this went to a decision. I thought Dan was really in control the entire fight, showed that there are significant levels between the Afghanistan and the city kickboxing protege. And I got to say, though, I hope both guys got paid. I hope they both got a ton of money behind the scenes, and Dana really compensated them well for you could write a movie about their journey into the octagon that night. And the featured prelim, of course, Marlon Moraes versus Merab Dvalishvili. We'll say Marlon is probably the worst fighter I've ever seen. I'm kidding. I just don't understand how Magic Marlon Moraes literally has Merab dead to rights. Dvalishvili was. He was flailing. He was flailing unconscious.
This isn't a case of a bad fighter, though. This is a case of a guy that got into the UFC a little too late. He was a world champion at another promotion. I mean, come on. He's not the worst fighter ever. You don't win titles if you suck.
No, it's just, you know what it is? It's the durability, it's the fight IQ that's really what's questioning Marlon's continued stay in the UFC. And, I mean, I've never seen fight. I mean, I've, of course, seen you think about big comebacks. Right, you think about Pat Barry versus, I think, what was it, Czech Congo or that fight where it was just exactly right, a huge comeback. I'd say that's on the same level with Merab somehow rallying and then getting the finish late. But those were the early prelims and prelims, Mancuso.
The prelims were exciting, and we got into the main card here of UFC 266. The absolute opposite of exciting. Rosenstruck versus Curtis Blaydes. All the makings of a great heavyweight fight. This fight made Francis Ngannou versus Derek Lewis look fun. I just brought it up, and Jack has actually fallen asleep over there. It was that bad of a fight. Jack, that was a stinker.
Yeah, I don't care to ever see either of them fight ever again, to be honest. That was one of the worst fights I've ever seen. I hate baseball. I'd probably rather watch a baseball game than watch either of those two fight.
Bane?
Yeah, same thing. I mean, I thought the exception to Curtis Blaydes' style was the Volkov fight. We think about that 5 rounds of just laying and praying, but I thought that Blaydes, because he has shown that he's a finisher. He finished Junior Dos Santos on the feet, right, with strikes. And so I thought that we'd see some more elements of Blaydes' game. But yeah, it was just laying and praying. And Jairzinho has the takedown defense of my dementia-ridden, 80-year-old aunt, like just absolutely non-existent, went to the ground, couldn't get back up. I think that this shows why you need strikers versus strikers sometimes and grapplers versus grapplers. If somebody could negate Blaydes' ground game, then you'd have an exciting fight. If you have someone who wants to stand and trade with Rosenstrike, then you have a decently exciting fight.
Yeah,
I just think that stylistically, this was doomed.
No, for sure. And I get it where you think about Blades and his wrestling. I mean, Derek Lewis obviously answered it, knocked him out with that huge shot. But man, I don't know about you guys, and this is no disrespect to Curtis Blades. I just don't see him with Gone and everyone else at the top of the division. Like, I'd never find his fights very, very entertaining. He just reeks of like the future Bellator heavyweight champion, though. Like if he went to any other promotion, I mean that with respect. If he went to any other promotion, he would be the king of the heavyweight division, in one or in Bellator or in PFL. He'd be the king of the heavyweight division.
And he should go to any of those.
It did. It really made Derek Lewis and Ngannou look fine.
Actually, I don't think he could win in one. With his style, I don't think he would be very successful in one.
Yeah, because Arjun's such a great wrestler, right?
Well, no, but like you got to think one is going to eventually get some heavyweights in there, and with their scoring system, it is not going to be very kind to Curtis Blades' style.
No, it's not, man. You gotta, they score the bouts as a whole as opposed to round by round. Moving on, guys. Ruthless Robbie Lawler ends up stopping Nick Diaz, which obviously at Tarps Off, we have the Jake Shields connection there. Tough to see. Obviously, everyone heard Nick's post-fight words, brought up. There was kind of a switch up amongst his management team. You guys have probably seen a few of the articles, right? Jake kind of said some stuff on Twitter now. I'm going to be recording with Jake like tomorrow or the next day, so I'm going to let him speak on all of that and keep this just about the fight. Not the return Nick Diaz fans wanted to see. The speed that you're used to was definitely gone. And this is, we're talking about a guy who was out. People kept saying 5 years. It's almost been 7. It would be 7 years as of January that he last fought. So, like this coming January. So, it's basically 6 years and 10 months out of the octagon. And it showed. Listen, one thing I will say, though, is boxing is super fucking accurate still. There just wasn't a lot of power behind the punches.
Not a lot of speed either. You saw Nick Diaz come out in the opening bell. He threw that spinning kick, and you were like, here we go. Like, it was a horrible kick, but you thought, like, Nick Diaz is going to be back here. And then he threw his first punch, and then I kind of went, oh, fuck. It was a very slow punch. He was kind of slow the whole fight. It didn't look like he had a lot of power. And then he kind of just gave up.
You have to give a lot of respect to Lawler, though. You really have to look at
he was
Robbie Lawler's performance. And he came to play, and that's something that he talked about. He said Nick Diaz brought out the best in me. He was like, I haven't had a showing like that in years. Again, Lawler has not won a fight in years, but Robbie Lawler came out with a very aggressive, very focused game plan. And, that's just tough. That's just tough for Diaz. Obviously coming back 6 years, 10 months, with that kind of Lawler, it's definitely Jack's shaking his head. What are you shaking your head about, Jack?
Absolutely not. Robbie Lawler also looked like crap. He looked slow too. It kind of felt like watching a bit of like an old man fight. I think Robbie looked like absolute shit, and if that brought out the best of him, he definitely should retire.
He should. I'm not saying he should fight Usman for the belt, Jack. I'm saying that Robbie hasn't won a fight since 2016.
I don't think Robbie should pick a fight at a gas station right
now. All I'm gonna say is yes, it's a combination of Nick Diaz's performance being a bit lackluster, and then Lawler showing some shades of old, some vintage Lawler in very limited capacity.
I mean, Robbie Lawler's performance versus Rory McDonald might be my favorite performance in UFC history. I love Robbie Lawler, but every dog has its day. Father Time is undefeated. It looks like the end of the road. He did not look good.
I want to see more retire. I want to see both guys in a retirement fight next. I want to see Ruthless Robbie Lawler take on like a Brown, and then get Nick Diaz versus Cowboy Cerrone, and just have give them each their own swan song. I'd like to see Dana.
I think that was Robbie's swan song. Why was that not Robbie's swan song?
No, maybe it's Robbie's, but it's certainly not Nick's. I don't think he wants to go out like that.
No,
I wouldn't think so. Tough scene, dude. I'm in all the Diaz groups and stuff, and they're it didn't do his stock well with his fans that not continuing to fight. It seems like they're bothered by that.
Yeah.
There's a lot of things that you could say about that. The ending, him not answering the call by the ref. But I think that it does somewhat kind of turn the narrative on fighters knowing, hey, you know what? If I stay in this one, I'm going to get unnecessary damage. I'm going to potentially get injured in a severe way. It's what's best. There's not going to be more of a fight. It's just going to be more of a downhill potentially. So I think that it's a smart call. It really shows that Nick Diaz has that cognizance, that self-awareness to understand, look, what's best right now is likely not standing and continuing.
He's not me continuing to fight. Yeah, and you know what? It's easy for some fucking dickhead on Facebook to be like, oh, he quit. Anytime you go into the cage, you're a bad motherfucker, man. I was looking up people on Tapology. We found a guy that's 0-42 in his career. That's his legit stats, and I still respect the fuck out of that guy. I told Jack, I'm like, I think I respect that guy more than a fighter that's 3-1. He's taking fights at 0-41. A, who's commissioning them, and B, that's so awesome and badass.
I think it was 2-42, but all 42 fights he lost, he was finished in the first round. I believe he's Reese the Nightmare on Elm, and then his last name is Street.
Reese Street, 2-42. He's a beast. But moving on to an actual beast, Valentina Shevchenko. What a performance! But you got to give it to Murphy. She showed up and gave her a damn good fight. It was all right.
I have to completely disagree, Mancuso.
It was all right. It was all right.
Lauren Murphy landed 19 strikes.
I know, but she didn't die. She didn't die, and that's okay. It was all right.
That is more on Valentina. Did she bet on herself to have like a 5th round finish? It was a shit performance from Valentina Shevchenko, which you never really say, and it was still super dominant, but she had no killer instinct. She didn't look like she was going for the finish. It almost seemed like she wanted to be like, oh, see, my division is exciting.
Murphy's the second best fighter in that division. I don't think they can have her kill her, because if she goes up and fights Nunes again, we've already seen what happens. We've seen it twice, right?
Jack brings up a really good point. That was an interesting performance. There were a lot of elements that traditionally are there for Shevchenko that we didn't see in the octagon. But this isn't something that we haven't seen before. Look at the Jennifer Maia performance. Look at Shevchenko's fight with Maia. That, to me, was like off. I was like, there's not a lot of urgency. Why is Jennifer winning these exchanges sometimes on the feet? There were a lot of questions that was brought up at that point in time, and now they're repeating themselves with Lauren Murphy and her 11 significant strikes that she landed through 4 rounds. You're starting to maybe see some cracks in Valentina's armor. You're starting to see the time at the top is wearing on the game plan and ability to rise to the occasion, right? As a contender, when you're fighting your way through the ranks and you want to get to the belt, you are wanting to put on shows. You need to make statements and prove why you deserve to keep climbing. Valentina's been at the top alone for so long. Maybe she doesn't have it anymore because she's bored as hell.
Yeah, maybe, man. It's something like bored. That. But she can't go up and fight Nunes. That's not a smart move for her career. It's going to end the same way it always ends. And then, I don't know. For me, it was like at least Lauren Murphy didn't go out there and die right away. That's what I meant by she didn't have a bad. I was expecting a 1st round knockout.
I think we should have seen one, to be honest. Either a first.
I was thinking we were going to see a 1st round knockout, so that's where I was like, she did okay, and then she didn't die.
Well, it was more Valentina had a bad performance. I think Lauren Murphy had a good one.
Yes, yeah, definitely. I don't think I think what Bane said absolutely hit the nail on the head there with the hammer, and he said she's been at the top for so long, maybe it is affecting the preparation. She's not coming in as sharp, and to be honest, we saw a bad performance last night, and I think Murphy's pretty clearly the number 2 in that division. No,
you look at Lauren Murphy's past performances and what she's been able to do to fighters, how she took out JoJo Calderwood, and maybe I don't know if there was a finish. I think there was a decision, but I mean, really, really good performances against the other contenders. I completely agree, right? She's established herself as the next best. The only problem is there is just significant levels between the champion.
Yeah, Shevchenko can come in on a bad performance and beat her ass like she did. It's like there's nothing you can do.
I still think Jessica Andrade is the next best fighter in that division, but teach their own.
We'll see. Andrade is a great fighter for sure. Speaking of great fighters, Volkanovski and Ortega.
Oh my God.
What a fucking fight that was. Volkanovski wins, unanimous decision. Got 2 rounds that were 10-8s, but like when you look at the scorecard and you see, what was it, like 50-44 or something like that? I saw some shit like that. You wouldn't think that it was possible that we saw Volkanovski almost get choked out legitimately 3 times. He almost got submitted 3 times. I don't understand how Ortega, with all his jiu-jitsu and that, didn't finish Volkanovski. Like, is Volkanovski a robot or something? Like, what the fuck was that fight? That fight was crazy.
Yeah, I mean, Ortega showed a lot of heart there. Volkanovski showed a lot of heart as well. Absolute 2 warriors going at it. Volkanovski looked like he was going to get finished at least 2 times there. And then Ortega was literally dead after 1 round, looked knocked out, and they basically had to carry his limp body back on the stool.
And they picked up his limp body and sat him on the stool. I couldn't believe they let him go out for that round. Dude, he was laying there. His corner guy just legit scooped him up and just like his limp, like a wet spaghetti noodle put onto the thing. And then he came out and had a pretty good round. It was like Ortega has fucking heart. I know Volkanovski was pissed about the PEDs or he got popped or whatever. And there was no way Volkanovski left that octagon with anything but respect for the way that Ortega fights.
And, when you look at those submission attempts, right, per Volkanovski himself, they were tight. He said that guillotine, that mounted guillotine, was a lose your belt kind of tight. From the champion to say that, yeah, absolutely has to respect the ability. And,
he even said, he's like, I was making weird noises and shit, like his neck. Like, he's like, I was making fucking weird noises. Like, he thought he was done.
But you look at Volk's performance, right? I say 50-45 on the judges' scorecards. I did think it was closer than that, but I feel Volkanovski did so much good work in all 5 rounds that it's difficult to give Brian T. City Ortega a round. Look at the strike differential: 214 significant strikes for the champion, 88 significant strikes for the challenger through 25 minutes.
Yeah.
I mean, that is
those submissions, right? It was just the guillotine, that triangle he had, and then they had 2 guilotines in a triangle.
There was a Darce. There was a
Darce choke.
Yeah. But I mean, T City's got some great heart, but same sort of equation with Lauren Murphy. Very good, super skilled, able to be at the top of the division, but will he hold the belt? I just don't know.
I don't think so. That's a tough division, but I thought Conor McGregor was weighing in on it, former champ down there. He said that he would knock Volkanovski's little head off, and didn't he call him 5'4" or something like that?
Yeah, then why doesn't he go and do it? Why doesn't he go down to featherweight and do it then?
He should have never left featherweight, that fucking dummy.
I think Volkanovski beats McGregor now, but yes. I would love to see McGregor go back down to 145 if he can. He's not very good at lightweight. He's definitely not good at welterweight. Makes sense.
Makes dollars and cents too if you look at me and you see some potential matchups in that division. Now,
and hold on. The UFC would give McGregor a title shot the second he went down to featherweight. They would. Oh yeah. Just like Dana always does, right? You know how that is. But you look at Volkanovski and Ortega, you think, what a fight, what a war. Probably fight of the week. Disagree. Christian Lee, the one championship lightweight champion of the world, defeated by Oak Ray Yoon. Oak Ray Yoon stormed his way into one championship during the one on TNT series, beat Gafarov, and then the next week took on UFC legend Eddie Alvarez, beat Eddie Alvarez. He comes in, takes the title from Christian Lee, but I will say this, that decision was pretty fucking bad. They went 5 rounds. It was an absolute war. But when I watch that fight and watch it back and think about it, Christian Lee won. Like, there's no way that he didn't win that fight. I don't understand how 3 judges saw it the other way. You could tell Chaudhry, the CEO, didn't think very much of the decision and was very quick to call it out after. Christian Lee's in octagon interview was like as intense and mad. Like, he's a pretty cool, calm, collected kid. I've had the pleasure of interviewing him and sitting and chatting with him. And for him to be like, this is fucking bullshit, and we got to bring it to the board, and I want a fucking immediate rematch. Like, for him to be losing his mind and cursing, like,
he felt hard done by, and he was hard done by.
Yeah, and I actually got the opportunity to speak to Christian Lee after the card was over in the post-media event. And he did tell me that he won every single aspect of the scoring criteria. Usually in a controversial fight, there's one that goes to one and two that goes to the other. There's no way Christian Lee lost that fight. He won on damage. He won on every single aspect of the criteria.
It made no sense. It really made no sense. But here's the thing. We got into it last night. Jack wants to see them go to the replay commission and them reverse it. Like no need. They were gonna fight again. No. If they fight again, no matter what, the belt, they were going to do it. Whether Oak won or Christian won, that was an immediate rematch. Christian ain't going to welterweight. He owes Oak another fight for that. He did anyway.
Don't tell me it doesn't matter, because
it does matter.
It matters huge, because you have these guys that fight, and then when they retire, their legacy is, oh, I defended the belt this many times in a row. With the bullshit that happened to Christian Lee, now he has to start over from square one when he's already defended that belt 3 times. That's messed up.
The breaks, dude. The refs and judges and stuff are human. Them's the breaks, man. Sometimes, you equate it to other sports. You miss an offside, and I get that in the NFL and that you can check replay. I'm not a fan of it for MMA. I think Christian Lee will train. Not that he didn't train hard, but I think he'll go to even a better level than he's been at. And I think that him and Okrayun too is such a great sell. It's great if you're one championship too, because now you just sell it as Christian Lee back on the road to redemption. No, isn't that how you would sell it, Bane?
Sorry, my internet just died for about 10 seconds there. I was staring at just a blank screen. To your point on Okrayun and Christian Lee, this is how I think about it. Just book the immediate rematch. Just book the immediate rematch, because then the legacies are still intact, because there's the time difference of, when they're fighting is they're back to back, right? So he's right back in the mix. There's no question about where Christian Lee's going. And I feel as an organization, if you are constantly overturning decisions and the go-to move
to become
after the fight, you get into the politics and the bureaucracy and the behind the scenes fixing or whatever, and it takes away from the sport and it takes away from the performances. I think that Christian Lee, I completely agree, right? I read through his Instagram post where he does go into detail about every scoring metric, the octagon control, the damage, the fight ending sequences. I agree, it's all Christian Lee, but the fact is, you just have to get the belt back, and that makes for a good storyline for the rematch, right? That's how you lay good storylines is, you won the belt unfairly. I'm here to get it back and reclaim my throne. That's a better storyline than I bitched to the commission and got it overturned.
And you know what? We were talking about how such a great ref Oliver Cost was. He was supposed to bring balance to the force, not destroy it.
Yeah, Oliver Cost was refing, and
does that? Because it was unanimous. So what the hell?
I know, he's the best ref one has, and then when he's not reffing, he jumps into the judge's seat. And like I said, I have no idea, man. I mean, maybe we're missing something, and I need to go back and really study it. But I'm with Christian. Like, every facet of that fight, he won. But I remember
they were bringing fighters to the post-fight press conference. All of them were saying Christian Lee won. There's nobody except Okrayun and his mom that think he won that fight.
But it's funny though because Angela Lee weighed in on the atomweight Grand Prix, and there was that terrible decision there in her atomweight Grand Prix, and she said it was close, but they can't overturn it. But her exact quote,
nope, false.
Her exact quote was, "Don't leave." She said, "Don't leave it in the hands of the judges." And I know what you're going with. She said that there just wasn't enough there to fully overturn it. I know the full quote, but she still said, "Don't leave it in the hands of the judges."
Not what she said. She said no one was close to getting a finish in that fight, which you heard Christian Lee say over and over and over again, that he was close to getting a finish, because that is one of the most important scoring metrics, is being close to getting a finish. And Christian Lee had Oak absolutely rattled with an overhand right that dropped Oak. And honestly, the ref could have stepped in and stopped the fight right there. He let it go on, and Undertaker came back, which made it such a great fight. But Christian Lee was extremely close to finishing that fight. And he was close to finishing the fight again in the 5th round when he had Oak knocked out on the feet.
Hey, I think it was a robbery, but hey, the saying "don't leave it in the hand of the judges." It hasn't been a saying since the beginning of the sport for no reason. You don't leave it in the hands of the judges. Almost, you know what, Jack? If your aunt had balls, she'd be your fucking uncle, buddy. But she doesn't. Like almost have never amounted to anything. Almost.
Part of the
Brian Ortega. What should Brian Ortega lift up the fucking featherweight almost champion? Like, oh, I almost submitted him. No chance. Christian Lee's got to battle back. I like the kid. I hope we get to talk to him again. I'd love to have him on Jake's podcast again to go off. He basically got Eddie Alvarez's people wanting to stab me. So, like, I like the kid. He's hilarious. He's a content machine. He's awesome. They're going to do the fight for the belt anyway. It's a great storyline for Christian Lee to just start telling Oak that you're not even really the champion. Speaking of not really the champion, Sterling is out versus his fight against Peter Yan. There was the controversial win. I won a bunch of money that night because I put a long shot bet on Sterling, and he won by disqualification. Peter Yan said about 3 weeks ago he's not going to show up to fight in October, and sure enough, guys, I'm not one to ever question injuries. I respect the hell out of these guys. Something's up with that Sterling. Everybody seems to know it. They got to strip him. I would strip. I don't want an interim title. Take it off of him. Let Yan fight O'Malley or let Yan fight Sandhagen. Bane, I know you're part of the team for the PR of TJ Dillashaw. He's not ready. He's got a surgery. He can't take this fight. If he could take it, it would be his fight. It would be. But I love Sandhagen, and then the winner of that for the title fights TJ.
I did. I spoke with the boys and I was like, guys, let's get TJ in. And they were like, yo, he's still recovering from surgery. And I was like, hey, that's fair.
TJ, let's go.
Yeah, one leg, TJ. That's all you need.
One leg,
Dillashaw's going to second quarter of 2022 is probably when he's going to get the next fight. That's not based on anything. That's just my thought. But I will say Sandhagen makes sense. Rob Font also makes sense. I think that those two guys are it. I think Font's on a good tear. They get a really, really good performance. And I think that he matches up with No Mercy well. When we think about Piotr Yan, it's all about the hand speed. It's all about the pressure, the aggression, and that offensive assault can be countered by the New England Cartel member of Rob Font. Font has really slick boxing in his own right. I would love to see those two go at it. But Sandhagen, in my opinion, deserves the shot too. That was a close fight with TJ, man. I'll tell you what, through 25 minutes, very, very closely contested. A lot of people feel that the Sandman should have gotten the nod there. So, in my opinion, no stock lost in terms of the search for the title. If he's ready, October 30th, I want to see Sandman versus No Mercy.
I don't think you can give it to Sandhagen off of a loss. He did take a loss his last fight. That's Rob Font's title shot right there. Give it to him. New England Cartel, Boston, baby. Rob Font, pizza delivery boy to world champion, coming at you.
He will not win the title at all. In my opinion, Rob Font won't do it.
My brain agrees with you, but my heart completely disagrees.
Yeah, my heart thinks you're an idiot. My heart thinks you're an idiot, but my brain knows you're smart. Guys, we have a card coming up this weekend. We have Diego Santos taking on Johnny Walker, the fighter, not Johnny Walker, a bottle of Blue Label whiskey. Bane, how do you see that fight playing out?
This is an interesting one at 205. Thiago Marreta Santos has not won a fight since 2019. You look at the John Jones loss, then followed up by the Glover Teixeira loss, and then followed that up with the very, very forgettable Alexander Rakic performance in March of this year. Johnny Walker coming off of a win against Ryan Spann, September of 2020. He got it done with some elbows and punches, but you have to remember, Ryan Spann was knocking out Johnny Walker with ease at the beginning of that fight. I mean, Walker was in serious trouble. Ryan Spann, with the low fight IQ he possesses, shot for a takedown, and then the elbows of Walker gets it done. So I don't know why this is a main event. This is what I said before. I don't understand why each guy's really not going to be progressing and fighting for the title. The top of 205 is controlled between, Yuri Prochazka. Anthony Smith has reinserted himself in a big way. Alexander Rakic is unfortunately still in the mix. These guys aren't going to be contesting for a title in a while. So I don't know why this is the main event, but I think that Santos, if he shows up, takes out Walker with ease.
I doubt it. That knee of Santos is done. Mancuso, I think during the Rakic Santos fight, you said you didn't even want to stream MMA anymore because it was so boring. You almost stopped covering the sport because of the fight. I don't think Santos can make an exciting fight with his knee. It's unfortunate, but I think that's almost a bit of a career-ending injury, at least as a contender for Santos. I think Walker wins this easily. I just think Santos is going to be a shell of himself after that knee injury.
Yeah, no. Here's why. Because look at what he did with Glover Teixeira, right? He had Teixeira rocked. He knocked him down. Those flurries still exist. He does have the ability to explode. It's just not often as it was before the John Jones fight. Johnny Walker has a chin that is quite literally made out of aluminum foil. I don't believe that he can handle one of those flurries. I think if the Glover Teixeira sequence is repeated, but Johnny Walker's in instead of Glover, it's a quick night for Thiago Santos. The recovering ability of Glover Teixeira is unmatched. That dude's like a Greek god when it comes to rallying in fights. Johnny Walker's not the same.
You know who else has the ability to explode? Johnny Sin. Gotta love when Uncle Johnny makes an appearance on the podcast. You love to see that. But we're going to flip it 180 from things you love to see to things you just hate to see. You hate to see it, boys. What's something this week that you just hated to see, Jack?
One thing I just hated to see was the hostilities between promoters. You got Dana White calling Oscar De La Hoya a crackhead. You got Chatri saying that he could beat Dana White in any single MMA combat. He said the guy doesn't even know how to throw a leg kick. He's never put on a gi. He can't wrestle. He can't strike. He said, what does Dana White even know about MMA? The guy's never thrown a leg kick before. You got Dana calling Oscar De La Hoya a crackhead and saying that he deserves an Oscar for his hospital performance, and that he was pissed that he prevented him from seeing him get knocked the fuck out by Vitor Belfort. The hostility between promoters, I love it.
Yeah, you love to see it. You hate to see it. Bane, what do you hate to see?
Yeah, for me, man, it's the fact that Brian T. City Ortega had 3 different submissions locked in. He had the mounted guillotine, and that was tight as hell. He wrapped up the legs. He was doing everything correct, and he couldn't finish. A first-degree black belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu under Renner Gracie. His last submission was against Cub Swanson in 2017. I don't know. I mean, the fact that he hasn't been able to snatch a neck or tap someone out in 4 years is insane. Again, you have to think about the 2-year layoff between 2018 and 2020. But in the fight with Korean Zombie, it just didn't really seem like there was much of the threat. I would love to see more grappling from Ortega as he continues, because clearly striking is not working out for him.
Hate to see it, guys. And my hate to see it for this week, what actually happened after we recorded the video came out. Dylan Dennis, everybody, MMA's favorite member to hate, the MMA community's most hated man, Dylan Dennis, was arrested, taken to jail, but not before getting choked out by a bouncer who looked like he was on the Mancuso diet. This is a guy who, Conor McGregor brought in to be his BJJ coach against Khabib. He was going to change it. This guy says he's the greatest grappler on the earth, and his record is like 9-15 in grappling. It is the most crazy thing ever. And I just find it funny with all the beef him and Jake Shields have, that on the same weekend that Jake beat a cop to retain his superweight championship for high rollers, BJJ, the same weekend he beats a cop, Dylan Dennis gets choked out by a bouncer in a bar. Like, the guy just loves memeing himself. You just fucking hate to see it, boys. But you know what I hate seeing? All these people watching our podcast and not being subscribed. Hit that subscribe button. Tarps YouTube.com/TarpsOffSports. Tarps Off Sports everywhere else. At the Bane MMA on Twitter. And he's got the Bane is on Twitch as well, right, Bane?
Yep, twitch.tv/Bane. I don't stream too often, just with the collegiate schedule that I'm operating on. But whenever I do stream, it's typically a fun time.
That's it, boys. We'll catch you next Monday.